The first time I saw Ethan Caldwell, he was leaning against the rusted railing of Willow Creek's only diner, a cigarette dangling from his lips, his blue eyes catching the neon glow like they were made of the sky itself. I was 16, awkward, and hopelessly in love before I even knew his name. By senior year, I was drowning in a secret that felt like a fist around my heart. My name's Lucas Harper, and I grew up in Willow Creek, a speck of a town in upstate New York where everyone knows your business but pretends they don't. Ethan was the golden boy, quarterback, prom king, the kind of guy who could charm a snake out of its skin. He was also, as he'd loudly proclaimed at every party, 100% straight. I believed him. I had to, because hoping for anything else was a one-way ticket to heartbreak in a town where being gay was whispered about like a scandal. But Ethan was kind to me, kinder than he needed to be. We've been friends since junior year, when he caught me sketching in the library and called my doodles freaking cool. From then on, we were inseparable, late-night drives, sneaking beers by the lake, sharing secrets I thought were safe because they weren't the secret. I told myself I could handle it, loving him from the sidelines. I was wrong. It was the summer after graduation, the air thick with the promise of change. College loomed, and I was terrified of leaving Willow Creek. Not because I loved it, but because it meant leaving Ethan. We were at the lake, our usual spot, the dock creaking under our weight as we sat with our feet dangling over the water. The sun was sinking, painting the sky in shades of fire. Ethan was quieter than usual, his usual cocky grin replaced by something I couldn't read. "You ever think about what's next, Luke?" he asked, his voice low, like he was afraid of the answer. "All the time," I said, my heart thudding. "You?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled a blade of grass from the dock and twirled it between his fingers, his jaw tight. "I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not." My breath caught. Ethan wasn't the type to get deep. He was all bravado, all charm. But that night, something was different. I could feel it, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. I wanted to ask what he meant, but fear glued my tongue to the roof of my mouth. What if I was wrong? What if I saw something that wasn't there? Pretending how? I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me then, his eyes locking onto mine, and for a moment, the world stopped. The lake, the crickets, the fading light, it all vanished, and there was just us. His gaze was raw, unguarded, like he was seeing me for the first time. My heart was a drumbeat, loud and reckless, and I swore he could hear it. "I don't know how to say this," he said, his voice cracking, "but I've been thinking about you. A lot." The words hit me like a freight train. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Ethan, the guy who'd spent years bragging about his conquests, who'd laughed off every rumor, was looking at me like I was the answer to a question he'd been too afraid to ask. "Ethan, what are you saying?" I asked, my voice trembling. He didn't answer with words. Instead, he leaned forward, his hand brushing mine on the dock, and before I could process it, his lips were on mine. It was soft, tentative, like he was testing the waters of a truth he'd buried deep. My world shattered and rebuilt itself in that single, impossible moment. When he pulled back, his eyes were wide, like he'd surprised himself as much as he'd surprised me. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to." "Don't." I cut him off, my voice fierce. "Don't you dare take that back." He stared at me, his chest rising and falling like he'd just run a marathon. "Luke, I've been lying to myself my whole life. I thought I could keep it buried, but it's you. It's always been you." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But Willow Creek wasn't a place for fairy tales. It was a place where secrets like ours could destroy you. And Ethan? He was the king of keeping secrets. That night, we didn't talk much after. We sat in silence, the weight of what had happened settling between us like fog. I could still feel the ghost of his lips on mine, the warmth of his hand brushing my skin. But doubt crept in, cold and sharp. Was this real? Or was it just a moment, a fleeting lapse in the story Ethan told the world? The next day, he avoided me. No texts, no calls, nothing. I went to the diner, hoping to catch him, but he wasn't there. His truck was gone from his driveway, and his mom said he'd gone to visit his cousin in Syracuse. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Had I imagined it? Had I built it up in my head, only to watch it crumble? Days turned into a week, and still no word. I was a mess, sketching furiously in my notebook, trying to make sense of the ache in my chest. My best friend, Sarah, noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't tell her. Not yet. Not when I didn't even understand it myself. Then one night, my phone lit up with a text from Ethan. "Meet me at the lake. Midnight. Please." My heart raced as I grabbed my jacket and slipped out of the house. The lake was dark, the moon barely a sliver, but I could make out Ethan's silhouette on the dock. He looked different, smaller, somehow, like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. "I'm sorry I ghosted you," he said as I approached, his voice rough. I freaked out, Luke. That kiss had changed everything. For me, too, I said, my voice barely steady. But you can't just disappear like that. Not after. I know, he interrupted, stepping closer. I've been fighting this for years. My dad, this town, everyone expects me to be this perfect guy. But I'm not. I am scared, Luke. Scared of what this means, scared of what people will say. His vulnerability hit me hard. Ethan, the untouchable golden boy, was standing in front of me, raw and real. I reached out, my hand finding his, and for the first time, I felt like we were on the same page. I'm scared too, I admitted. But I'd rather be scared with you than alone. He looked at me, his eyes shining in the moonlight, and for a moment, I thought he'd kiss me again. But then we heard it, a rustle in the bushes, a snap of a twig. Ethan froze, his hand dropping mine like it burned. Someone's there, he whispered, his voice tight with panic. My stomach dropped. Willow Creek wasn't kind to secrets like ours. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about us anymore. It was about the world we lived in, and whether we were brave enough to face it. The air felt heavier as Ethan and I stood frozen on the dock, the snap of the twig echoing in my ears like a gunshot. My pulse raced, every shadow in the trees suddenly a threat. In Willow Creek, a town where gossip spread faster than wildfire, being caught like this could ruin us. Luke, get down, Ethan hissed, pulling me toward the edge of the dock. We crouched low, the rough wood biting into my palms as we peered into the darkness. My mind spun with worst-case scenarios, someone from school, a neighbor, or worse, Ethan's dad, a man whose temper was as legendary as his son's charm. After a tense minute, nothing moved. No voices, no footsteps, just the soft lapping of the lake against the dock. Ethan exhaled, his shoulders slumping. Maybe it was just an animal, he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. I wanted to believe him, but the fear in his eyes mirrored my own. We can't keep doing this, I said, my voice low but firm. Hiding, sneaking around. It's going to kill us. He looked at me, his face pale in the moonlight. You think I don't know that? But you don't get it, Luke. My dad, he'd disown me. In this town, they'd eat us alive. His words stung, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. Willow Creek was a place where conformity was king, and anything outside the norm was a sin. I'd spent years hiding who I was, dodging questions about why I didn't date, why I spent so much time with Ethan. But that kiss had changed everything. It wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a truth I couldn't unlearn. Then what do we do? I asked, my voice breaking. Pretend it didn't happen? Go back to being just friends? Ethan's jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought he'd walk away again. But then he grabbed my hand, his grip fierce, like he was anchoring himself to me. I don't want to pretend, he said. But I need time, Luke. I need to figure this out. Time. It sounded reasonable, but it felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak, and we sat there in silence, the weight of the world pressing down on us. The next few weeks were a blur of stolen moments and unspoken promises. Ethan and I met in secret, late-night drives to empty fields, quiet corners of the library, anywhere we could be alone. Each time, I saw the battle raging inside him. He'd laugh and joke like the old Ethan, but then his eyes would darken, and I'd catch him glancing over his shoulder, like he was waiting for the world to catch up with us. One afternoon, we were in his truck, parked on a back road surrounded by cornfields. The radio played softly, some country song about love and loss, and Ethan's hand rested on the seat between us, close enough that I could feel the warmth of his skin. I wanted to reach for him, but the memory of that twig snapping kept me cautious. Luke, he said suddenly, his voice low, what if we left? Just you and me. Got out of this town, started over somewhere new. My heart skipped a beat. You mean it? He nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon. I'm tired of being scared. Tired of lying. I want to be with you, for real. But not here. The idea was intoxicating. Leaving Willow Creek, leaving the judgment, the whispers, the fear. But it was also terrifying. I had a scholarship to a small college in Albany, and Ethan was set to join his dad's auto shop. Leaving meant giving up everything we'd planned, everything we'd known. I want that too, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. But it's not that simple. My mom, your family, they're not just going to let us walk away. Ethan's face hardened. My dad doesn't own me. And your mom, she loves you. She'd understand. I wasn't so sure. My mom was kind, but she was also a product of Willow Creek, where tradition ran deeper than the roots of the old oak in the town square. Coming out to her would be like dropping a bomb on her quiet, predictable life. Before I could respond, Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression darkened. It's my dad, he said, his voice flat. He wants me home. Now. The drive back was silent, the air between us thick with unspoken words. When he dropped me off, he didn't look at me, just muttered, "I'll call you later." But he didn't. Not that night, not the next day. The silence was deafening, and I hated how familiar it felt. By the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. I went to his house, my stomach in knots. His mom answered the door, her smile tight. "Ethan's not here, Lucas," she said. "He's been busy." "Busy where?" I pressed, my voice sharper than I intended. She hesitated, then sighed. "He's with his dad at the shop. They've been working late." Something about her tone set off alarm bells. I thanked her and left, but instead of going home, I headed to the auto shop. It was past closing, the lot empty except for Ethan's truck. I crept closer, my heart pounding, and that's when I heard it, raised voices from inside. "You think you can just do whatever you want?" Ethan's dad bellowed. "I raised you better than this, boy." "Dad, I'm not." Ethan's voice was desperate, pleading. "Don't lie to me," his dad roared. "I saw you with that Harper kid. You think I'm stupid? You think this town won't talk?" My blood ran cold. I pressed myself against the wall, out of sight, but I could hear every word. Ethan's dad had seen us, maybe not the kiss, but enough to suspect. And in Willow Creek, suspicion was as good as proof. "I'm not like that," Ethan said, but his voice was shaky, like he was trying to convince himself as much as his dad. "You better not be," his dad growled, "because if you are, you're no son of mine." The words hit me like a punch. I wanted to barge in, to defend Ethan, to tell his dad he was wrong. But my feet were glued to the ground, fear rooting me in place. I heard the shop door slam, and then Ethan's truck roared to life. I ducked behind a dumpster as he peeled out of the lot, his face a mask of anguish in the glow of the streetlights. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying his dad's words, Ethan's shaky denial. Was he backing away again? Was he going to bury us, to save face? The thought made me sick, but I couldn't blame him. Not entirely. In a town like ours, coming out wasn't just brave, it was reckless. The next morning, I found a note slipped under my door. Ethan's handwriting, scrawled and messy. "Meet me at the lake. Midnight. I'm done running." My heart leapt, but dread coiled in my gut. Whatever was coming, it felt like a turning point. For better or worse, everything was about to change. Midnight at the lake felt like stepping into a dream or a nightmare. The water was still, reflecting the stars like a shattered mirror, and Ethan was already there, pacing the dock, his silhouette tense against the dark. I approached slowly, my heart a tangled mess of hope and fear. "Luke," he said when he saw me, his voice raw, "I'm so sorry about last night. My dad, he saw us at the cornfield. He's been watching me, like he knew something was up." I swallowed hard, the memory of his dad's voice still burning in my ears. "What did you tell him?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, his eyes wild. I didn't know what to say. He was screaming, threatening to kick me out. I told him he was wrong, that we're just friends. But I hated every word, Luke. I hated lying. His admission hit me like a wave, relief and pain crashing together. "Then why did you?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. "Why keep pretending?" "Because I'm a coward," he said, his voice breaking. "I've spent my whole life being what everyone wants, quarterback, ladies' man, the perfect son. But it's not me. Not anymore." He stepped closer, his hands trembling as he reached for mine. "I meant what I said about leaving. I want to be with you, Luke. For real. But I need you to trust me, even when I screw up." I wanted to trust him, more than anything. But trust was hard when the world felt like it was closing in. What happens when your dad finds out? Or the town? You think they'll just let us be? Ethan's face hardened. "I don't care what they think. Not anymore. I'm done letting them control me." His words were brave, but I saw the fear in his eyes, the same fear I felt. Still, I nodded, squeezing his hand. "Okay, but we do this together. No more running." He pulled me into a hug, his arms strong and warm, and for a moment, it felt like we could take on the world. But Willow Creek had a way of breaking even the strongest things. The next day, rumors started spreading. I overheard whispers at the diner. Kids from school saying they'd seen Ethan and me at the lake, speculating about what we were doing. By lunchtime, my phone was buzzing with texts from Sarah, demanding to know what was going on. I ignored them, my stomach churning. Ethan wasn't at school, and his phone went straight to voicemail. I found him at the auto shop, working alone under the hood of a car. His dad was nowhere in sight, but the tension in Ethan's shoulders told me everything I needed to know. "They're talking," I said, leaning against the workbench. "People saw us." He didn't look up, just kept tightening a bolt. "I know. My dad heard it too. He's pissed." "What did he say?" Ethan finally met my eyes, his expression grim. "He wanted to leave town. Says there's a job with my uncle in Ohio. He thinks it'll fix me." My heart sank. "Are you going?" He slammed the wrench down, the clang echoing in the empty shop. "No, I'm not running away. But he's not giving me a choice, Luke. He's cutting me off. Money, the truck, everything, unless I go. Anger flared in my chest, hot and sharp. He can't do that. You're 18. You don't have to listen to him. It's not that simple, Ethan said, his voice low. He's my dad. In this town, it's all I've ever known. Then fight for what you want, I said, stepping closer. Fight for us. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine, and for a moment, I thought he'd break. But then he nodded, slow and deliberate. You're right. I'm done letting him win. That night, we made a plan. We'd save up what little money we had, pool our resources, and leave for Albany before the summer ended. My scholarship would cover my tuition, and Ethan could find work. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, a chance to build something real, away from the suffocating weight of Willow Creek. But plans, like promises, are fragile things. A week later, I woke up to find my mom sitting at the kitchen table, her face pale. Lucas, she said, her voice shaking. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. She held up a photo, printed from someone's phone, a blurry shot of Ethan and me at the lake, our hands brushing, our faces too close for just friends. Someone had sent it to her, anonymous and cruel. Who took this? I asked, my voice barely audible. I don't know, she said, but it's all over town. People are talking, Lucas. They're saying things about you and Ethan. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My mom wasn't angry, not exactly, but her eyes were full of fear for me, for what this meant. Are you? She started, then stopped, like the words were too heavy. Yeah, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. I am. And Ethan, he's trying to figure it out. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I love you, Lucas. But this town, it's not kind to people like you. I know. I said, my throat tight. That's why we're leaving. Her eyes widened, but before she could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. My dad knows. He's coming for you. Get out now. Panic surged through me. I grabbed my jacket and ran, my mom calling after me. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to find Ethan before his dad did. The town felt like a trap closing around us. Every street a reminder of the life we were trying to escape. I found Ethan at the lake, his truck parked haphazardly, his face bruised and swollen. He hit me, he said, his voice hollow. Told me I was a disgrace. Said if I didn't leave tonight, he'd make sure you paid for it. Rage and fear collided in my chest. We're done hiding, I said, grabbing his hand. We leave now. Together. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of pain and determination. Okay, he whispered. Together. The night air was thick with the scent of pine and fear as Ethan and I stood by his truck, the lake shimmering darkly behind us. His bruised face was a stark reminder of what we were up against, but his hand in mine felt like a lifeline. We had no plan, no money, just a desperate need to escape before Willow Creek crushed us. We can't go to my place, I said, my voice low. My mom's freaking out, and if your dad's looking for me. Ethan nodded, his jaw tight. We'll go to Sarah's. She's the only one I trust not to rat us out. Sarah had been my best friend since middle school, the one person who'd never judged me, even when I was too scared to tell her the truth. I texted her, my fingers shaking. Need help. Can we crash at your place? It's bad. Her reply was instant. Get here now. We drove in silence, the hum of the truck's engine the only sound. Ethan's hands gripped the wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. I wanted to say something, anything to ease the tension, but words felt useless against the weight of what we were doing. Running from a town that had defined us, from families that loved us but didn't understand. Sarah was waiting on her porch when we pulled up, her face pale but resolute. What the hell happened? She demanded, her eyes flicking to Ethan's bruise. His dad, I said, my voice thick, and the whole town's talking. They got photos, Sarah. They know. She cursed under her breath, then pulled us inside. Her parents were out of town, thank God, and the house was quiet, a temporary sanctuary. You can stay here tonight, she said, but you need to tell me everything. So we did. Sitting on her worn-out couch, with Ethan's hand still in mine, I told her about the kiss, the secrets, the plan to leave. Ethan chimed in, his voice raw as he admitted how long he'd been hiding who he was. Sarah listened, her eyes softening with every word. I always knew you were into him, she said to me, a small smile breaking through. I just didn't know he felt the same. I didn't either, Ethan said, his voice barely above a whisper. Not until it was too late to keep pretending. Sarah hugged us both, fierce and protective. You're not alone in this, but you can't stay here long. This town is not safe. She was right. By morning, the rumors had spread like poison. My mom called, begging me to come home, but I could hear the fear in her voice. She was caught between loving me and fearing what the town would do. Ethan's phone was dead, his dad having cut him off completely. We were on our own, with nothing but Sarah's couch and a half-baked plan. "We need money," I said, pacing Sarah's living room. "My scholarship won't kick in for another month, and we can't live on nothing." Ethan looked up, his eyes bloodshot but determined. "I've got some cash saved from the shop. Not much, but it'll get us to Albany. We can figure it out from there." Sarah chipped in, offering what little she had from her summer job. "Take it," she said, pressing a wad of bills into my hand. "And don't come back here, Lucas. Not until this place grows a heart." Leaving felt like betraying everything I'd known, but staying was worse. We packed what we could fit in Ethan's truck, a few clothes, my sketchbook, his old guitar, and hit the road as the sun rose. Albany was only a few hours away, but it felt like another world. The drive was quiet, each mile stretching the distance between us and Willow Creek. Ethan reached for my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could do this. Maybe we could be free. But freedom comes at a cost. Halfway to Albany, Ethan's phone buzzed to life. He'd charged it at Sarah's. It was a voicemail from his dad, his voice cold and final. "You made your choice, Ethan. Don't come back. You're no son of mine." Ethan's face crumpled, but he didn't cry. He just stared at the road, his grip on my hand tightening. "He doesn't get to decide who I am," he said, his voice steady despite the pain. I squeezed his hand, my heart aching for him. "You're enough, Ethan. You've always been enough." We reached Albany by noon, the city a chaotic sprawl compared to Willow Creek's quiet streets. We found a cheap motel, the kind with flickering neon signs and questionable stains, but it was ours. For the first time, we were alone, no one watching, no one judging. That night, we lay on the lumpy mattress, our bodies pressed close, and I felt the weight of the world lift just a little. But the world has a way of catching up. The next morning, Sarah called, her voice panicked. "Lucas, you need to know. Someone posted that photo online. It's everywhere. Your mom's getting harassed, and Ethan's dad is telling everyone you corrupted him." Guilt twisted in my gut. My mom didn't deserve this, and neither did Ethan. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Lay low," Sarah said. "I'm handling things here, but you need to stay safe." Ethan overheard, his face hardening. "This is my fault," he said. "I should have stood up to him sooner." "No," I said fiercely. "This is on them, not you. We're gonna make this work, Ethan. We have to." He nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Albany was our fresh start, but Willow Creek's shadow was long, and we weren't free yet. We spent the next few days scraping by, Ethan picking up odd jobs at a local garage while I worked on my college paperwork. Every night, we'd collapse into each other's arms, finding solace in the only thing that felt certain, us. But the past wasn't done with us. One night, as we walked back to the motel, a car slowed beside us. My heart stopped as I recognized the driver, Ethan's dad, his face a mask of rage. "Get in the car, Ethan," he barked. "We're done with this nonsense." Ethan froze, his hand tightening around mine. "No," he said, his voice steady. "I'm not going back." His dad's eyes narrowed, flicking to me with pure venom. "You think you can just walk away? You think this freak show is going to last?" "Leave him alone," I said, stepping forward, my voice shaking but firm. "He's not your puppet." Ethan's dad laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "You'll regret this, both of you." He sped off, leaving us standing in the dark, hearts pounding. Ethan turned to me, his eyes fierce. "I'm not going back," he said. "Not ever." I believed him. But as we walked back to the motel, hand in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. Willow Creek wasn't done with us, and neither was the fight for our freedom. The motel room felt smaller after Ethan's dad's visit, the walls closing in with every creak of the floorboards. We were in Albany, but Willow Creek's claws were still sunk deep, pulling at us through guilt, fear, and the weight of a town that refused to let go. Ethan and I clung to each other, our love a fragile shield against the storm we knew was coming. The next morning, I woke to find Ethan staring at the ceiling, his face drawn. "I can't stop thinking about my mom," he said. "She didn't sign up for this. She's caught in the middle, and it's because of me." "It's not just you," I said, sitting up. "It's us, and we're not wrong for wanting to be together." He nodded, but the doubt in his eyes was a knife to my heart. I knew he was thinking about his dad's words, about the town's judgment, about the life he'd left behind. I felt it too, the ache of leaving my mom, the fear of what came next. But we'd made a choice, and we had to keep moving forward. We spent the day job hunting, Ethan at the garage and me at a coffee shop near campus. The routine gave us purpose, a way to anchor ourselves in this new life. But every night, we'd check our phones, bracing for news from Willow Creek. Sarah kept us updated. My mom was laying low, avoiding the worst of the gossip, but Ethan's dad was on a warpath, spreading lies about how I'd ruined his son. The photo was still circulating, a cruel reminder that our secret wasn't ours anymore. One evening, as we sat on the motel bed eating cheap takeout, Ethan's phone rang. He hesitated, then answered, his face paling as his mom's voice came through. "Ethan, you need to come home," she said, her voice thick with tears. "Your dad's sick. They found something cancer. He's not himself, but he's asking for you." Ethan's hand shook as he hung up. He looked at me, his eyes torn between duty and defiance. "I don't want to go back," he said. "But she sounds scared, Luke. And he's still my dad, even after everything." I hated the idea, but I couldn't ask him to abandon his family. "We'll go together," I said. "But we do it on our terms. We're not hiding anymore." He nodded, pulling me into a fierce hug. "I don't deserve you," he whispered. "Yes, you do," I said, my voice steady. "And I'm not letting you face this alone." We drove back to Willow Creek the next day, the familiar roads feeling like a noose tightening around us. The town looked the same. Same diner, same oak tree, same judgmental stares, but we weren't the same. Ethan held my hand as we pulled into his driveway, a small act of defiance that made my heart swell. His mom met us at the door, her eyes red but warm. "Thank you for coming," she said, glancing at our joined hands. She didn't flinch, didn't judge, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of hope. Ethan's dad was in the living room, frail and pale, a shadow of the man who'd threatened us. He looked at Ethan, then at me, his eyes hard but tired. "You're back," he said, his voice weak. "I'm here," Ethan said, his tone firm but not cruel. "But I'm not staying, and I'm not changing who I am." His dad's face twisted, but he didn't argue. Maybe it was the sickness, or maybe it was the weight of losing his son, but he just nodded. "Do what you want," he said. "Just don't forget your family." Ethan's mom hugged him, tears streaming down her face. "I love you," she said. "No matter what." We didn't stay long. Ethan said his goodbyes, and I called my mom, who met us at the diner. She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe, whispering, "I'm proud of you, Lucas, and I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." The town was still whispering, still judging, but for the first time, it didn't feel like the end of the world. We'd faced the worst and come out stronger. As we drove back to Albany, Ethan's hand in mine, I realized something. Love wasn't just the kisses or the stolen moments. It was the courage to stand together, to fight for each other, even when the world said we shouldn't. Months later, we were settled in Albany, me in college, Ethan working full-time at the garage. It wasn't easy, money was tight, and the scars of Willow Creek lingered. But every night, we'd come home to our tiny apartment, and Ethan would pull me close, his lips brushing mine, and I'd know it was worth it. One evening, as we sat on our thrift store couch, Ethan pulled out a small box. Inside was a simple silver ring, engraved with a single word, always. "I'm not great with words," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I want you to know I'm all in. For good." I slipped the ring on, tears blurring my vision. "Always," I whispered back. Willow Creek had tried to break us, but it hadn't. We'd built something new, something real, forged in the fire of who we were and who we wanted to be. And as I looked at Ethan, his blue eyes still catching the light like they did that first day, I knew we'd keep fighting, for us, for love, for a world that might one day understand.